Hi guys, best regards from Ingolstadt. I have heard that you entered the Kamel GT Championship this year in the good old GTO car, so I wish you best of luck and a lot of success.
Best greetings to all drivers from the Audi GTO 90 Championship. Good success.
While it might seem odd for the Kamel Series to choose Monza's combined circuit for one of its rounds, you have to remember that endurance racing actually took part on it back in the 60s. We might scoff at it in present day as some sort of bonkers death wish only feasible for sim racers, but the drivers of days gone by were far braver than we give them credit for. So who will have the guts today to take the top step of the podium? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 12 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Johan Vandenbelt. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. We can talk all we want about the insanity of this track, but really the best way to illustrate it is to simply show you. So let's head on over to our track guide for a better look. Welcome to Monza. This track has a major place in racing history, not just for the legendary races, names, and cars that have been here, but because it was the third purpose-built car racing circuit in the world. It's often discussed and reverenced among fans, and especially by Italians who have nicknamed it the Temple of Speed. In fact, the Ferrari fans here are so famous for their devotion that they have been dubbed the Tifosi and never fail to show up in droves. While the real world offers only 3 feasible layouts to race on due to safety, in iRacing, the inclusion of the oval and the lack of safety concerns gives it a stunning 9 versions drivers can choose from. The modern GP layout is of course the most well known, with its long history of hosting the Italian Grand Prix. But the oval and combined circuits allow those who thirst for more speed to satiate that craving with its insanely high banking. Indeed, incredible velocities are a staple of just about every version you can race here. Draft battles are not uncommon, no matter which car you're racing. But the inclusion of the chicanes makes using an outbraking maneuver a much more tricky way of overtaking. The circuit is notorious for drivers getting tangled up with each other while running side by side in these slow and cumbersome corners. In fact, one of the greatest dangers for drivers is the first few laps when the field is still clumped together and attempting to navigate them 2 and 3 wide. While there are other modern circuits with high-speed straights, the fact that Monza sits inside the Royal Park just north of Milan and is still tightly lined with trees heightens the sense of speed here. All in all, Monza is unmatched in its history, thrills, and great racing. Its significance in motorsports history and culture is sure to be unchallenged for years. You see some of the sights that you can see around here at Monza, but Johan, boy, this combination, it's a doozy.
Oh, absolutely. If you would make a top 3 of tracks which fit perfectly for a season finale, I'm certain that Monza combined would be on that list, because like you said, Joe, this circuit is bonkers. Now, I think most people will know Monza from the Grand Prix circuit that Formula 1 visits every year, but with the oval combined, this track becomes a 10-kilometer behemoth, which, funnily enough, only tallies 9 different corners. Now, I don't want to make a fool of myself by doing math, but if you have more than a kilometer per corner, that kind of means one thing: very little downforce, and these cars will be focused on straight line speed, which will help the drivers in the oval section, and on the straights we will make the GP part with its corners extra difficult. Now, if we talk about dangerous parts, I would say pick your poison with any of the corners that the drivers will face today, because not only you slow down from virtually top speed to a relative crawl, but the race today will feature a lot of drafting, which means very close racing. And also keep an eye out for the transition part, where the drivers go from the old oval to the new circuit, because there's a bump there that might catch several drivers out. So all in all, I'm really excited and I cannot wait for this race to start, Joe. And it's especially exciting if you look at the championship and realize, well, it's still all to play for.
At least on the prototype side, it certainly is. Why don't we take a look at that right now? 3 points between Iamaki and Lepisto. We'll go over the iterations with you, but we'll try to simplify it as much as possible. Really, with that small, it's mostly about who finishes in front of the other. Gerber, Albrecht, Jungbluth, all out of the running at this point, although I'm trying to see if we have Gerber or Albrecht. Those two so close, it's essentially a fight for third, unusual for both of them to be fighting for a position that low in the points. Let's take a look at the GTO Championship, because we unfortunately missed a little bit of a trick last week.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dennis Neidhart, last time around, he sealed the deal. He won the championship. So congratulations, Dennis. I hope the champagne tasted well. Behind him, Johnny Hegner, he didn't show up. So he stays 27 points behind Dennis. He's kind of in the running against Philip Blake to secure P2 in the championship today here at Monza. Behind Philip Blake, and that's really the battle that you have to watch out for in the GTO, is the one between Philip Blake, between Esco, and between Franco. Only 3 points behind him, and they will fight really hard here at Monza to get that third place in the championship.
And of course, we have that Milk Zoo Championship as well. Franco Scurry having taken the crown this year with rounds to spare over Giorduscia and Nocera, Verkolen, and De Pasqua. Still got a little bit of a fight back there between Verkolen and De Pasqua to try and figure out 4th and 5th place. Now, in case we have viewers who have not watched before, why don't we go over the race details?
Yeah, this is the season finale, of course, of the Kamel GT Championship. It's a special one, however. It's going to be an endurance race. 60 minutes today, the drivers will lap Monza combined. The setups, as usual, are open. There's no free repair. And the incident points, well, you counted to 17 incidents. If you go over that, you will have a penalty. You have to go to the pits, 25 incidents. That means you get a black flag and will be disqualified.
Right now, we've got qualifying going on, but it takes a long time to get around here, so nobody's set a lap yet, even among the Nissans, as we wait for them to get one on the board. We're not even sure that they will get a second lap in during this qualifying session. As we watch that, why don't we go over the weather for today, which mercifully is actually pretty good. It's very cool conditions, so should be grippy out there at 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and also just about no wind the drivers will have to deal with. Granted, there's a lot of trees around here, so that would have blocked much of that wind anyways. So really, it'll be down between Lepisto and Iamaki while we wait for them to get those times in. Let's give you that quick rundown. If it's a case of Iamaki who leads the points, who finishes worse of the two. If he finishes 5th or worse, Lepisto needs to be 3rd or better. If Iamaki is 4th or worst, then Lepisto needs to be 2nd or better. And 2nd to 3rd for Iamaki, Lepisto has to win the race to take the championship. So there you go. That is basically what Lepisto needs to do to get back in front of Iamaki. It's down to 2 fins to decide everything.
Yeah, this is going to be really exciting between the two to see who will seal the deal. I'm actually trying to find them on track. At the moment, we see Lepisto on track. Lepisto on track is coming out of the Lesbo quarters. I'm really curious, though, to see how they will also approach this race, because this is not really a normal race, though, Joe, because of all the drafting and all the straight line speed. It almost might feel a little bit for the drivers like an oval race, where the strategy that you normally have is completely different. And with that added, these drivers probably have to come in for a pit stop as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the endurance format, so there will be a stop for both classes as we watch Lepisto finish up this lap. 2nd place in the championship. Can he put it fastest, though, here in qualifying as he comes to the line? And indeed, he is going to run out of time for a 2nd lap. As he crosses. Oh, maybe not, because it's a 2:26. So he should be able to sneak around for one more, just barely. as the times come in. Where is Iamaki now?
He's just behind him. He comes across also at 2:26, but he is, well, around 1/10 of a second slower. Nothing between them. Now, luckily for Iamaki, he is over the line with seconds to spare. So I'm pretty sure that Iamaki will be able to get another run in. At the moment, however, and that's maybe interestingly, both Finns are split by Niklas Hjelm. Niklas Hjelm was around 100 of a second quicker than Iamaki, and he nests himself in P2 with that time.
So it looks like our GTO is now getting some times on the board. Neidhart, our new champion, is on the provisional pole over Rob Olenek, which I understand did fairly well last time we were here. It looks like Reed Miller in the mix too, as he's in third. Yoni Hagner, curiously, all the way down in fifth. Make that sixth as Franco Scurry puts it in third.
Yeah, and the problem for these Audis is, while the Nissans have the opportunity to do a second lap, the Audis do not have the opportunity to do a second lap. So you see people like Scurry there immediately retiring the car, or actually giving up in the qualifying session because they just don't have the time to put in a second lap.
We're going to watch from on board. Fabian Gerber, multi-time champion, has currently put it in fourth. He's missed a lot of races this season, but he also hasn't performed up to snuff in a couple races. Let's see if he can rebound with a good finish to things as we watch from his perspective through the Della Rosa chicane. Now, we have all three chicanes in this version here, Johan, and I feel like that's the big difference today, because they've run this layout before, but usually just with that Della Rosa chicane. So I'm curious how things will be coming down the front stretch with all that speed heading in that curious little triangle they've got.
Yeah, absolutely, especially when they reach the Variante de Rettivilio, because once they reach that in lap 1 with everyone close together, speeds of close to 300 kilometers an hour, and everyone has to get slowed down, it's going to be extremely hairy once they reach that point of the track in the first lap. I just hope they can come out clean, because it's going to be a long track. The drivers have to know that they will not win the race in that first corner or by the first chicane. I just hope that everyone can keep it clean.
All right, Fabian Gerber out and out of the Parabolica. A 226.6 put him in fourth before. He's been bumped to fifth, and he does not improve. Iamaki is currently on the pole as he goes quicker to a 26.2.
And that was really interesting because Lepisto actually went back into the pits. He didn't finish the second qualifying lap. And Iamaki, well, he actually did, and he goes 1/10 quicker. He gets support.
Well, that settles our qualifying. Let's go through the starting grid. Iamaki on the pole with Lepisto. Next to him, Nicholas Helm gets bumped back to row 2. Kitty Ingstrom in fourth today, and Fabian Gerber in fifth position. Laust Olsen starts on the outside of row 3 with Martin Krejcik. Excellent qualifying in seventh. Stephen Warkup starts 8th today. Dan Mueller in 9th, and Tobias Gerber in 10th. You've got Clayton McLeod in 11th, followed by Aitor Sintez Guindo in P12. Lars Watzig will be starting in 13th. Then it's John Atkinson Jr. to his outside. Marco Kika starts P15. Pablo Suarez 16th, and Roberto De Filippi's in 17th position. Stephen Jones starts 18th today. Then you've got Sebastian Mark in 19th and Gabriel Genesis in 20th. A number of drivers did not get laps in the GTP class. What about the GTOs?
And that is Neidhart, our new champion. He starts in pole position. He starts in the inside of Rob Olenek. Behind them is Franco Scurry. He's being flanked by Reed Miller, who starts in 24th. Over Trangerate on the inside of row 13. Behind him, Joni Hagner with a 240. Also the 240s. The last one there is Ben Laughter. He's flanked by Esco Litinini in P28. Raffaele Marcello starts just inside the top 30 together with Hideki Koifisto. Behind them on row 16 of the grid, Alexander Veldman. He starts in P31. Joseph Erlebach, 32nd. Row 17 will be shared by Riley Downey and Giolo Forcolin. Alexandro Nogueira starts in the inside of row 18, followed by Wolf Dietrich Hortel. Paul Ferrer in row 19, and he's followed by Michael Houghton. And again here, a few drivers that didn't start qualifying times. Houghton is one of them. Other drivers that didn't set a qualifying time are Marcos Cesana, Fabrizio Raffa, and Juan Ignacio Yudurja.
You see Lang, Sullivan, Kramer, Sheen, Reuter, and Pruitt were in the GTP drivers that did not qualify. Well, Houghton with his usual speed, I'm curious how it's going to go for him. And also wonder how many of them elected intentionally not to qualify because, well, they just want to try and stay out of trouble, expecting a big one. As we heard Johan mention, really not even the first corner, but the first braking zone happens very late. They'll be going at an incredible rate of knots once they hit it. And it'll be a question mark of who has got their braking point down into there when everybody's still packed together and jockeying for position in the slipstream. Thankfully, a short pace lap, as you can see the Porsche pace car leading Iamaki down towards the Parabolica. Duck in, and then we go racing for 60 minutes today in the Kamel GT series. Who will be waiting patiently to save fuel? Who will be rushing ahead to try to get to the front and get out of potential trouble? Around that final 180-degree corner, pit entry approaching quickly. Iamaki, does he go fast? Does he back them up? A little bit of a checkup behind them as Lepisto's holding back. Pace car's in. Iamaki's off quickly. Green flag is out. And that's actually going to get a decent jump on Lepisto. Back there, it looks like Hjelm is being overtaken already for third with Kitty Engstrom. And they start to swing into the first part of the oval. Let's head back to the GTO start.
Yeah, the pole sitter there, Dennis Neidhart, he had a great start already going in the middle of the parabolic as he came. Rob Olenek follows behind. Scurry isn't that far, and they were side by side for P5 at the moment over Trangerate with Joni Hagner on the outside. Still P there, but it seems like the first 4 cars have gone single file, but it's a battle for the lead up front with the Nissans.
Lepisto had the lead briefly, and now Nicholas Helm on the bottom side, trying to take that away. He gets up to the front. Kitty Engstrom still in third. Iamaki is actually shuffled back to fourth. And then don't look now, but here comes Laust Olsen. I didn't think he would get this high up this quickly, but a great job by the number 32. Here's the moment of truth as they get up to 189 miles an hour. Some of them already lifting a little bit, trying to make space, breaking into the first chicane. So far, so good. A lot of too wide, but everybody is playing nice and patient into this corner. Little bit of a bump in the background. I see a car turned around. I'm trying to figure out who that is. Looks like Sheen had to come to a halt. 2 cars get turned the wrong way. Let's go to the GTOs.
Yeah, there's Rob Olenek there who used the draft, got the lead. Franco Scurri, however, has reached the Variante de Rettifilio. He goes to P1, overshoots himself a little bit. The whole top 3 overshoots himself there. Bunch of cars behind actually overshoot. We had a lead very shortly for Johnny Hagner, who undoubtedly has a slowdown penalty at the moment. But I think Franco Scurri, he is the driver that came most cleanly through the first chicane. He is in the lead now, followed by Rob Olenek and Dennis Neidhart.
Riley Downey also was one of the ones that cut through, as you see them now going through
Oh,
Della
and we see a
Roja.
crash, sorry, behind him. Escolit Nime, car number 24. He gets it all shapes of wrong as he reaches the Della Roja chicane.
We'll have to go
Try
back
to
and
thread the needle.
we'll have to go back and watch this a little bit later. Yeah, he just got 3 wide unintentionally, and thankfully, even though he banged doors a little bit, he did manage to not hit anybody else. If I could get my tongue under control today. Let's head back to our leaders in the prototypes. Nicholas Hjelm is ahead of Engstrom right now. A little bit of a gap, but this 0.7 of a second, I have a suspicion, is going to go away soon.
Oh, absolutely. But the good thing for Helm at the moment is that Kitty Engstrom and Ante Lepisto are fighting. They're side by side as they go towards the first oval corner. Now behind them, you said that it's around a second at the moment that Helm is there. And I think that if these 2 cars are gonna stay fighting, you would almost say that work together now. Let's try to close on the gap, leapfrog a little bit over the straight. Right now, Lepisto is gonna follow Engstrom a little bit. Behind him, Iamaki is trying to leapfrog as well. He's now going to the inside of Lepisto. You can just see visually as well that the gap to Hjelm is just getting diminished very, very quickly.
Not usually cars that you talk about the slipstream a whole lot, but they are going so fast for so long here that Hjelm is a sitting duck, and they certainly have their choice of lane along the oval portion. Engstrom down to the inside is going to take the lead back away once again. And we haven't even gotten to the fact that they are going to reach traffic eventually, and that'll complicate things all the more. They break once more, this time a little less complicated as they go mostly single file. A little bit of side by side behind them in the midst of the pack. Meanwhile, back in the Audis. Go ahead.
A big crash there with Alexandre Nocera. Other drivers involved as well, like Rowley Downey, was coming onto the oval section. They were too wide in a row.
Neidhart is leading right now. That's Olenek second back there. Reed Miller is into third. Laughter tries to position himself well, gets back to the racing line. Miller takes a peek, but that actually opens the door as side by side into the corner. Laughter manages to overtake him the hard way around. That gets him into third.
And in front of them, Dennis Neidhart got all shapes of wrong on the exit of the Rettifilio chicane. Gave Rob Olenek almost an opportunity, but Rob Olenek didn't capitalize on that. He has to stay P2 for now.
So we ride on board with Olenek at the moment, down through the second chicane. You can see how slow they have to get the cars after those high speeds. Now through the Lesmans. Oh, and we got a car off in front of them. That is Pruitt. Pruitt's been having a bad day. He keeps out of the way. So thankfully, no big dramas there. Meanwhile, up at the front, oh, and we got a smoking car. What is going on here?
I think that's Gabriel Genesis, who's very slow. Yeah, it's Gabriel Genesis in the 46 we're seeing. He has a smoking engine. He probably had to spin a little moment ago.
Yeah, I'd say that's a little more than a spin, judging by the looks of his car. As we come back to our leaders in the GTPs, Engstrom still ahead of Hjelm, but just like last time, they're reeling him in. Hjelm might lose second place though, because Lepisto now coming through. He is currently ahead of Iamaki, which is what he needs to do to try and take this championship, but he's not quite exactly where he needs to be. There's a lot going on. We'll need to wait for it to hopefully calm down for us to really take a glance at the points as they finally get up to Engstrom. And are they going to go three wide? They're thinking about it, but think better of it. Lepisto backs out of it, considers his championship. Hjelm going to take second as they finally break.
It was great to see that Lepisto actually was thinking about it for a moment. Am I going to make it three wide? And am I going to send it on the right side?
Oh, sorry, we got to go to Rob Olenek. Olenek has gone around. I think everybody's going to be able to avoid him. And this happened on the straightaway and the backstretch on the oval. This is almost exactly what we saw with the GTPs, except they didn't come out the other side.
Yeah, I think he got checked up by Dennis in front of him. He had to go off the throttle a little bit, and I think that Ben Lauter just gave him the slightest of bumps on the right rear corner. That sent Rob Olenek into the garden.
Well, that's going to send him into the pits for repairs, unfortunately. As we watch from above one more time. Just a sad way to end what was a quick race, quick qualifying there for Rob Olenek. Coming back, though, we look at our leaders. Engstrom has gotten to about a second ahead, as I think we had an off with Pablo Suarez. I think, don't need to go to it. Looks like it was a single car off. Just found himself going a little wide in the Lesmos. We head down to the GTOs. Uwe Trangerade with Joni Hagner, Franco Scurry, Reed Miller all in here. This is essentially for third place.
Yeah, Reed Miller, who just dropped 4 positions after getting it wrong out of the Rettifilio chicane. And you can immediately see that visually as well, because this is the battle for third place, with Scurry currently in third place. Ben Lauter and Dennis Neidhart in front of them. They're slowly getting away, it seems like. It seems like Joni Hagner and Scurry have to work together as they reach the Variante Ascari to just close down the gap to the top 2. Otherwise, they may be left alone once they reach the oval part. Coming out of the Ascari chicane, I think they're just inside the draft still, Joe.
And this will be telling this time by. And figure out exactly how far back you can be and what you can gain as they come up to Parabolica. The exit is important, and unfortunately for Ben Lauter, he blows the entry. Maybe trying to square it off a little bit more, though. The exit looks decent, so maybe not as dire as it looked initially into the corner, as they now go parallel with the traditional pit straight. You can see both classes running along one another. Franco Scurry going to get gobbled up by Joni Hagner, who's down to the inside. Now the bumpiness starts as they almost weave into one another on the banking.
Yeah, they're not giving each other a tone with there. Hagner on the inside, he really had the overdrive coming out of the Parabolica corner. He wanted to use that speed to just close down the gap to the top two, who are now fighting with each other at the same time. Ben Laughter is on the inside, he leapfrogs Neidhart. He gets P1 while Joni Hagner is still on the inside of Scurry. Scurry does not let him go by now as he reaches the second over corner. He slots in behind, but this has lost the P3 to P4 cars. I think a 1/2 of a second in that battle to try and close down to the top two. Now they come out of the oval section, and you can see now how much more speed Joni Hagner has. He reaches 300 kilometers an hour, around 10 kilometers an hour more than the top two, and he's just closing it down very quickly. Once they reach the first chicane here, Joe, it's again a 3-4 car battle for the lead.
And they all get single file just like that. So your order now is Neidhart, Laughter, Hagner, Scurry, Trangrade, and Miller. And just to give you an idea of how powerful these Audis are, even as boxy as they were hitting 2 miles an hour slower at top speed than the Nissans. So they are absolutely flying. And that's going to make traffic interesting once they get collected by these GTP drivers. Now, while we've got just a brief moment here, there is a junior cup that they run in this series, and that's been won by Laust Olsen over on the prototype side. In the GTOs, what they call the GTUs, it's Esko Letaniemi who has captured that championship. A big congratulations to them. You see Laust on the screen, and Esko unfortunately not getting to celebrate quite how he wanted, as he's in pit lane. Meanwhile, in the prototypes, up in second place, Engstrom, a second and a half ahead of Iamaki and Lepisto, and he may have broken the draft. They've got Hjelm here in the battle as well.
It really depends on how hard these three cars will fight each other. Especially if they're still side by side here going to the first chicane. And there's Iamaki who's out in front in the white car. Lepisto and the red car behind him. But you can see Iamaki just not hitting both apexes in that chicane. And that costs him valuable time coming out of that corner. On the left, you'll be able to see that the lead of these two cars is just dropping. It's almost a second that they lose to the leader. And this is just great news for Engstrom, Joe, who can just, streak away quite easily because the people behind are fighting hard.
Yeah, he's loving this. It's 2.2 now here on the road course portion. If he's faster in this part, that'll just make it even harder for them to try and gun him down. Meanwhile, I can tell you that Neidhart, who pulled away to 1.1 seconds ahead of Laughter, is being reeled in very quickly. Finn with a huge head of steam as they come around the second portion of the oval, back onto the pit straight. I know the Lotus 49 gets air off of this little part. I wonder if these cars do. Look at them hop. They don't quite get fully up into the air, but boy, I bet they get wheel spin off of there.
They look extremely excited. The drivers have to lift off a little bit there to not get too much wheel spin. Neidhart now on the inside is Ben Laughter, who tries to move around the outside, but has to reach the Rettivilio chicane. He cannot make it stick. Hagner still behind him. Scurry, Miller, over Trangerate. He's sixth in this battle. He's just waiting to see what happens in front of him. But Ben Laughter and Dennis Neidhart, they're not really racing like there's still 45 minutes to go, Joe. They're side by side every single lap.
Yeah, they've got plenty of time to sort it out. We wondered about anybody trying to fuel save. I don't think many of these leaders are, but I kind of wonder about some of those who are trailing in behind. Guys like Trangrade, Miller, Scurry, just patiently sitting back and letting the car suck up less fuel as they work their way around behind the leaders.
I mean, it will help for sure once the pit stops reach, because if you can fuel save a little bit, a shorter pit stop might be the difference of you actually breaking away from the draft of the people that are out front all the time now. But over Trangerate is falling behind a little bit, and Reed Miller and Scurry as well, as they're fighting as they reach their Sky chicane and they're breaking everything closes up again.
Back to Ardo Iamaki with Antti Lepisto to his outside down the front stretch. Nicholas Hjelm deciding once again to back out of things. He could be also thinking of fuel at this point. And don't forget Fabian Gerber back there in the blue and white. There you see catching up and giving chase. It extended by 2 more tenths between them. Actually, more than that. Wow, 6 tenths between Lepisto and Engstrom. Kitty is flying.
And I'm wondering though, Joe, how much of that is actual race pace from Engstrom and how much of that is actually fighting between Arto and Antti. If these two Finns stop fighting for a second, just work together, trying to close the gap to P1, will they be quicker than Katie Engstrom? At this moment, I would say yes.
Up to the leaders in the GTO, and it's looking an absolute mess as they've even got traffic in there. They're going to go 3 wide. Now, this is not lap traffic. That is Stephen Jones trying to get back with his class. Now that he's finally ahead of them, he can hopefully leave them behind. You can see he's got initial pace here, but he's not going to be pulling away that quickly in this portion of the lap. Up and around the banking, Neidhart leads Laughter. Hagner back in 3rd. Miller's actually moved up to 4th, so he's gained a few positions. Scurry then gets demoted to P5. Side by side for the lead is Ben Laughter on the outside coming down into the Rettifilio chicane. Who's going to be stronger on the binders? Neidhart with the inside pulls ahead under braking, and he makes the apex, so he is back to the front. Oh, he gets a big touch! That's going to turn him around. That slows up Laughter, and Hagner finds himself P1 just like that.
Dennis Neidhart smashing through the cones there on the runoff section in the chicane, trying to get the speed back and close the gap. This has hurt Neidhart a lot. He falls back to P5. Scurry drops down in position behind him.
Wow. Just like that, it all falls apart for Dennis Neidhart. Granted, he's still in the pack, so he could find his way back to the front. Just a little shove at the apex. It looked like he was a little hot into the corner, so I kind of wondered about that, and I guess Laughter didn't get the memo.
Yeah, it was basically a repeat of the same moves that happened the lap before, where Dennis Neidhart just covered the inside, although that time they didn't touch. Luckily for Neidhart, you can see it on screen, he is still in the draft of Open Triangulate, still very close. If we go to P2 in a Nissan, it's still a hard battle between Lepisto, and now it's Niklas Helm who's in P3, Iamaki who has dropped 1 position down, and on the ticker on the left, 2.7 seconds. So at the moment still, Joe, Engstrom is streaking away.
He's going to be the first to find the traffic, though. And the first one will be Wolf Dietrich Hoto, followed by Paul Fair. Oh, did we have a big accident? Oh, we do have a huge accident on the front stretch. Marco Kika. Cars are literally flying through the air here. Let's take a look at what started this. And it looks like it's a situation between Sintes Guindo, Wartzig, and Kika.
Ooh, Nocera was the one who kind of started it all. He hit the inside of the barrier coming onto the Grand Prix circuit.
I'm trying to figure out who that was that went way off into the... We can't figure out who it was, but there was a Nissan that literally went over to the other side of the track because there were cars scattered everywhere. And even though they had plenty of warning seeing them coming, they still had trouble trying to get out of the way. My goodness, that was a mess.
I think that was Aitor Ryder who got launched into the air by Mark Ruder.
So we come back to our leaders and the prototypes. Miller's now up to the lead. Laughter is in second. Hagner with a bit of a gap back there. In fact, it looks like Laughter's going to try once again down to the inside. Thinks better of it as they get back in a single file into the first chicane. Neidhart currently in 4th after his incident. Train grade following him, so is Scurry.
Yeah, and I don't think any of these drivers have to worry too much yet. They can just stay behind a little bit, like you said earlier, Joe. Maybe save a bit of fuel. They're still on the draft, and if they, well, don't lose the draft, they will be able to fight their way forward. At the moment, I think the position I don't want to be in is the position of Reed Miller, who is really breaking all the wins for these cars and is using more fuel than the rest.
So we watch them come around the Lesmos. Did Iamaki lose a position? Well, he might have, because Niklas Helm is to his outside. In fact, no, he's going to gain a position here. Remember, he was behind him, out-braking him down into the first chicane. Popular passing spot. No wonder with all the draft that they're getting and Seems almost like a slam dunk until you get to that braking zone and you have to be brave on the binders.
Now you get a position and Niklas Helm is immediately under pressure by Fabian Germer. It seems like the Finns are stamping their foot down and saying till this point, and now we're going to put some extra pressure on because Fabian Germer immediately passes Niklas Helm. But in front you can see Arto and Antti driving away, almost a second between them and Fabian Germer. Let's see if they can now break the draft, work their way forward.
Looks like we had one of our GTO drivers, Joe Dorsha, have a bit of a problem. He's slow here through Ascari. Not quite sure what exactly happened.
Oh, I think he blew an engine going into the Ascari chicane there.
And as we go back to the battle for the lead in the GTOs, here we go again. On to the oval portion. Miller leads on the backstretch portion. Laughter with a big lift, though. Doesn't want to try and risk it now.
Yeah, smart if you compare what we just saw in the crash between some of the GTPs and GTO cars, that you don't want to go side by side through the exit of the corner just yet. There's still 2/3 of the race to go. Laughter is still behind Reed Miller as they come out of the old oval section over the bump. Let's see now who has more speed. Laughter in the draft. He will have the overdrive. Will he go to the inside? Well, at the moment, it seems like he's just lifting, Joe. He is actually lifting quite a bit, and Johnny Hagner as well. So it seems like all these drivers are quite satisfied, quite content with just letting Reed Miller stay out in front, break the win for them. Just take it calm for a little bit.
Yeah, I think they've had enough fun for now. Now it's time to get serious. Speaking of which, I was double checking on the situation for a championship. And, you know, for Iamaki, it actually behooves him to make sure Lepisto doesn't catch Engstrom right now. He wants to keep fighting him, because as long as Lepisto is in second place and Iamaki is there in third, he's got that championship clinched up.
Absolutely, and it doesn't really seem like Engstrom is being caught very quickly. Last time around, Engstrom was 0.6 of a second quicker than Lepisto, so at the moment it's just going really, really well.
And Engstrom actually has caught a few of our GTO drivers, I think. I do believe he's been putting them a lap down. Up next to him is for Colin and Sassana. Little ways up the road. There you see the number 10 up at the front.
And the good thing for Iamaki as well is that he just completely caught up with Lepisto at the same time. So it's not really the case that Lepisto will be able to drive away easily at this point. The other Finn is right behind him. He kind of can control what Lepisto in front of him will do, especially with that overdrive that you have on the backstraight.
So let's update that situation, because I'm guessing traffic or something may have separated Gerber from them, who has now fallen back quite a bit. Laust Olsen has dropped back significantly, but he's still sitting in fifth. This is a good position for him.
Yeah, he absolutely... Oh.
Did something happen to Niklas Helm? He's in pit lane. Oh, you know what? I think Niklas, not long ago, hit the curbs too hard and damaged the car or something. I'm trying to figure out what exactly happened to him.
Ooh. No, he lost it on the exit of the Variante della Roccia. Trying to get back onto the throttle. Lost the car and just completely smashed the left side barrier very hard. You can see it happening. Yeah, you can see it happening here. He's going towards the Variante della Roccia. This is right in the middle of all the traffic we were talking about that lost him and Gerder quite a bit of time. And once he goes on the throttle here, he gets too much wheel spin, smashes it hard into the barrier. And I think that might have damaged his suspension because he immediately went to the pits. And that's horrible news for Niklas Helm, who was actually fighting until that point for the win.
That is a shame. So you can see the very damaged car sitting dejectedly. I thought potentially maybe that he had pitted early, because we are almost halfway. So if drivers did want to pit early and get out of a battle that they were in, they could use a little bit of strategy here. But meanwhile, we've jumped back to Iamaki, continuing to tail Lepisto, as they've now fallen back to 4 seconds behind our leader. They're now just behind for Colin and Sassana.
Yeah, this is going to be difficult for the Finns once they reach those Audis in front of them. I think they will be just on the cusp of the Della Roggia chicane that you reach there. Lepisto takes a look on the inside. I think he's too far to try. No, he's just going to send it. He's just sending it on the inside there. Great work from the Audi to give him the space. And this has hurt Iamaki so much. Look at that. Who cannot immediately pass for Colin in the Audi. That gives Lepisto, well, a little buffer as to reach the Lesmos.
That's going to extend it to about 1.2 seconds between them. That's just about on the cusp, or Otto could reel him back in. But some more good traffic in this final portion of the road course could allow him to stretch away enough that he could break the draft, and that will at least allow Lepisto to put this back in his own hands a little bit. But I'd say Iamaki is quick because he's closed it back down to 0.6 of a second. Very fast.
Oh, Iamaki looks aggressive. The way that he passed Marco Cesana there in the Ascari chicane immediately went down several times the gap between the two Finns. He looks right on it at the moment. There will be another Audi in front of them. That's Alexander Veldman. I doubt that Alexander will play a big part because I think they will both be able to pass him before they reach the first turn of the oval. The pistol now goes by the Audi as they reach the start-finish straight. Iamaki, I hope he will be able to pass there as well. Because if he's able to pass it before, he is able to pass it before, now he will be in the draft though, Joe. And I think there will be no Satil again once they reach the second quarter of the open.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right. Here's what's interesting though. Now that they're catching the GT traffic, the GTOs, I wonder if the slipstream could play a part in things, because those boxy little cars punch a huge hole in the air. You can see the run that Iamaki's got just even without that. But I did see Lepisto sneak in behind that lap GTO to try and get a little bit of a whiff of that draft.
Every little bit helps, especially once... Okay, so the situation for Lepisto is he has to break the gap to Iamaki. For Iamaki, he wants them to stay close together and not close the gap to Engstrom, because that will mean for Iamaki that he will win the championship. Lepisto, he has to drop his countrymate as soon as possible, because only then he can work on closing the gap down to Engstrom and trying to get that P1 position that he desperately needs if Iamaki finishes on the podium. There's a Nissan standing still there, that's Sullivan. I think that he just missed the chicane, everything is fine, but there's a battle going on between Ben Laughter and Joni Hagner, Joe. Hard battle as they reach the Lesmos, the two Audis.
And I wonder if they keep battling. That's Reed Miller in front of him. Oh, and did something happen to Houghton? He is not happy. And was that was Engstrom. It was Engstrom who got into him, our leader. But I don't, as mad as he is at Kitty, Marciello is the one to blame, I would say, here.
Absolutely. Rafael Marciello tried to follow the Nissan to... Oh, this is heartbreak for Engstrom there, who I think has completely damaged his car. Maybe let's follow Marciello there, who tried to follow the leader to overtake Houghton there, but just outbraked himself, touched Engstrom. Engstrom goes around, Houghton goes around, and Marciello is the one who instigated it. Actually goes in completely free.
That is a shame, because remember, Houghton didn't qualify, so he was trying to come back forward. Oh man, that is a real shame. But this changes the complexion of the championship completely. Lepisto is now leading, and Iamaki is in second. So Lepisto will take the championship if he finishes as things are. Ardo now has to beat him.
Well, it is incredibly bad news for Kitty Engstrom there, because he was dominating. He has increased the gap to almost 5 seconds at the point that happened. But because of that, we will have the best ending to the championship with these two Finns really battling it out on track. The one who will finish in front of the other will go home with the championship. And Iamaki, who was able to just stay back, make sure that the gap between them and Engstrom wouldn't close down, now has to fight for his life if he wants to win that championship. Coming out of the oval, let's see if Arto will immediately change his behavior and his strategy. Now he knows that he is in P2 and he's fighting for the win. He's staying in the draft, but you can see it there. I think that he's just lifting off. He is very happy just staying behind the pista for now, as there's a whole cackle of Audis right in front of them fighting for the lead.
Yes, that is the battle for the lead in the GTOs, I was just about to say. And they were too wide, about too deep there. Now, they split apart a lot, which actually might be great for our GTPs. Trangerade and Hagner have got a little bit of a gap between them, but that's going to close back down just about now, honestly. So, unfortunately, the opportunity has slipped away. Really, what they want to do is try and get through here before they have another situation like that along the oval where they've got to get 3 wide and duke it out for the lead amongst the battle for the lead in this slower class.
Maki is praying at the moment. Please don't go side by side. Please stay single file, because that means that we can pass easily. You can see now Lepisto getting by the first of the Audis. Maki as well going to the inside, but Maki has to pass these 2 Audis to the nose to tail at the moment. He's not able to. He is slotting in behind 2 of the Audis, and this might be what Lepisto needs to really separate himself to Maki.
Oh, but look, he's got a problem. He's got 3 wide, is a little bit into the grass, goes over a Trangerade. That's going to cost him as Joni Hagner gets into second. They continue to try and chase Reed Miller up and around the outside. The better downforce of Lepisto's Nissan is allowing him to get through completely. And, Iamaki, clever move here. Iamaki comes into pit lane for his stop.
Absolutely, he will basically throw away the opportunity he had by staying in the draft, but by pitting now, he will save valuable seconds that he would otherwise lose fighting to get through this out.
Taking his fuel. Let's see how quickly he can get back out here. I don't think we've seen any scheduled stops so far, judging by the stop times that I'm looking down. He is taking tires, so he went up on the jacks. Taking a long time for fuel. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we have seen some drivers take scheduled stops, because I see Krejcik with about a 32nd. Iamaki is back out and rolling. He's going to return in 8th place.
Around 25 seconds for Iamaki there with his pit stop.
Back to our GTOs, who are already down the original pit straight. Come to the brakes as they hit the Redifilio chicane, and it is currently Miller leading Hagner, Neidhart 3rd, Trangerade 4th, Ben Laughter is in P5, and Franco Scurry rounds out your top 6. They are about 11 seconds ahead of Rafael Marciello back there in P7. He's continued to drop off, but Rafael's all on his lonesome. Essentially, at this point, he has to hope for an issue for that top group.
One driver that I want to put the camera on for one moment is Fabian Gerber, because he is the big winner after everything that just happened. He has closed the gap down to Lepisto by only 1 second. If Lepisto will make his pit stop now and both Finns will basically come out of the pits together, I think that Fabian Gerber will be able to make it a 3-car battle for the lead. He came through the traffic really quickly and has won valuable time.
Could Gerber end this one on a win? I'm sure he'd love to close things out in that fashion, considering he's won 3rd. And did something happen to Krejcik?
No, Krejcik and Engstrom are battling side by side. You can see it on screen at the moment. This is from the rear of Engstrom. The battle for P12 this is at the moment, after both of these drivers have made their pit stop. Engstrom stays in front of Krejcik. I wanted to actually compare the lap times, but at the moment, and these laps of course are so long, Joe, they both are basically out of the pits. This will be the first real lap of the second stint, and then we will be able to see what the pace of Engstrom is after everything that happened. I hope for Engstrom that he just has the same pace as he had before, because he was quick, and if he can just still have the same pace as he had before, I think that he can still make it into the top 10.
And things get curiouser, because Lepisto pits in response to Iamaki, making sure that he doesn't leapfrog him. He's only going to get 1 lap to try and run him back down, considering the gap that was pulled in the traffic they were dealing with. Let's see what the comparison is going to be between their pit stops. He's already out and running. Iamaki's now onto the front stretch. He's going to have a much bigger head of steam. And there you can see him in the background. It was mildly quicker for Lepisto. It's actually already onto the oval. Iamaki can now see him.
Yeah, but Lepisto will be in the draft of Ryan Langer, who just passed him. And this will really help Lepisto there, because he now immediately has a draft buddy and he doesn't have to wait for Iamaki to catch up to him. This will mean, you can see it now from onboard Iamaki, these two Finns will stay together until the end of the race. They didn't manage to break the draft there. Ryan Lange is still in front of them. It's a battle for position at the moment, because I don't think Ryan has made a visit to the pits yet. Iamaki is closing the gap down on the inside now of Ryan Lange. Over the little bump there, it is side by side, and Ryan Lange seems to have more speed at the moment on the outside, but he is kind of in the middle of this battle for the championship. Now he lets them go. Arto Iamaki takes a look on the inside, but he is nose to tail once again with Lepisto.
I was going to say, because I was looking at that myself, Lange hasn't pitted yet, so he's allowed to be in there as we got a car off to the side. That's just, that's Michael Sullivan, lap down, so he's had an issue spinning himself off. So Ryan really didn't need to try and get out of it, but only unless he was nice. And I think it's Ryan Lang, because I'm seeing he's from Illinois. So the American decided he did not want to get involved in it, realized the situation since they had made their stops, and just lifted and let them go.
If we go back to the top of the Audis, we can actually see that the whole battle has separated themselves. Over Trangrate and Franco Scurry, they're falling behind a little bit. Dennis Neidhart is trying to stay in the draft of Joni Heckner and Reed Miller. That means that we have missed Ben Lafter. I think that Ben Lafter has made a pit stop, so he's the first of the Audis that came into the pits. And he is trying now a different strategy to the other 5 of his competitors.
Let's stay on this, but I just realized that the call of Iamaki to come in and pit when he did may have backfired in an unusual way. Fabian Gerber, remember, he was catching Lepisto. If Gerber jumps both of them in the pit stops, Iamaki will once again, will not backfire. Actually, it will work well for Lepisto, or for Iamaki. It'll backfire on Lepisto. Lepisto will lose the lead and be out of championship winning position if Gerber goes up to the lead.
But I do think, though, that Lepisto had to make the pit stop when he did, because if he would have waited, then it wouldn't be in his own hands anymore in the direct battle with Iamaki. Now he knows that by basically pitting at the same time, only 1 lap difference, he is still in that battle with his championship rival, and it will be just a mano-a-mano fight to win this championship.
So we saw the pass there on screen with Tobias managing to get by Laust Olsen. That gives him what is second place for the moment, though they still need to make their pit stops. They're, wow, Tobias a whole 13 seconds behind his brother right now. So really no threat to the quicker of the 2 Gerbers. Let's take a look at Michael Houghton after his frustrating wreck that he was involved in, has fallen back to 9th place. Julio Verkolen is now the one battling with him. They come off of the oval section. You know, the other thing I wonder in this is you talked about them needing a little bit of a lift up and over the hump out of the oval. As the tires go off, I wonder if that gets worse and it gets a little bit more sketchy coming off of there.
Oh, that's a really good question. I would be really curious to ask the drivers that at the end of the race, because it's also a concentration issue, making that jump. It happens a few times.
What happened to Mueller here on screen?
Yeah. He made a spin, it seems like. He was right behind the leaders of the Audis. Just coming out of the Lesmo corner, he lost it on the throttle. Hit the wall there. We go to a replay of the moment. Yeah, just on the curb, trying to go back on the throttle, hitting the inside quite hard, but it seems he can continue. Good thing for Mueller is that he didn't make a pit stop yet, so he can maybe combine his pit stop with some repairs to his Nissan.
Well, that's unfortunate to see, because he's actually in a decent position. He's running in the top 5. The edge driver does take a good thwack into the safer barrier there on the inside. Tech Pro barrier, rather.
Just one thing that we have missed in the meantime is that Lepisto has lost a position to Iamaki. So Iamaki is now virtually in the lead. He made that overtaking maneuver on the exit of the Variante della Roccia last lap as they were trying to get by the lap car of Raffaele Marciello. But this means that Iamaki is in the lead for Lepisto, and he really holds the championship now with almost 2 hands.
Up to the leaders in the GTOs. More traffic coming through. This time it's Stephen Warcup. He'll be able to sneak by on the backstretch of the oval. Miller leads Hagner, leads Neidhart, leads Trangrade, with Scurry back there in 5th. And I can report that Mueller did pit, by the way, just an update for his fans. So has Guillermo Kramer. But now coming down into the chicane, Hagner with a little bit of a look, maybe more defense here on Neidhart, trying to keep him back. No real moves this time from any of them into that first bit of braking.
And it's a 5-car battle now. Now Ben Lafter has made his pit stop, and I'm wondering if Ben is maybe regretting his decision. Last time around, he was almost 1.5 seconds slower than any of these drivers in the top 5. And as long as these 5 drivers just stay together in each other's draft, being quick on track, I think that Ben Lafter might be dropped from this battle for the lead.
Yeah, it's certainly not looking good on paper, but I guess it'll all come out in the wash eventually. We'll have to wait and see exactly what happens from those pit stops. I saw a bit of smoke on the front stretch there as Lafter went by. I'm not sure who was involved in that. Could have been another big accident there that we missed. I'm not sure. But our top group now down into the Ascari chicane under the oval portion. Oh, and critical moment here for the GTP class. Fabian Gerber pits from the lead. Tobias going to join him. Laust Olsen. I wonder if this is the end of the line for the fuel cell of these cars.
Yeah, you would almost think so, that these drivers have to make a pit. I'm just really curious, where do Iamaki, where do Lepisto come out? These drivers, Iamaki and Lepisto, are right in that battle with the top Audis at the moment. Iamaki cannot pass Neidhart before the Parabolica. He has to wait until corner exit. And look at Lepisto, he is losing valuable seconds to his championship rival. At the moment, Fabian Gerber, where is he? He is going out of the pits now. I think that Iamaki will have him though.
Easily.
Lepisto as well, yeah. So it's Iamaki in the lead at the moment. Lepisto has now finally passed all the Audis, but there's a big gap between the two Finns, 1.2 seconds.
Wow, I thought for sure that Gerber seemed to have the pace to get himself involved in this, but as the gaps now settle, he's 3 seconds behind them. That is well out of the slipstream.
Reed Miller has made a pit stop as well, as is Franco Scurry. Both the Audi drivers are standing still at the moment, trying to get the cars refueled. It will be interesting to see where Miller and Scurry will come out compared to Ben Lafter. Ben Lafter, who's now coming around the Parabolica chicane.
They're still stationary. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Ben...
Wow. He is gone. Ben Lafter... His stop was 23 seconds. You know what I think happened? Lafter must not have taken tires, whereas Scurry and Miller did.
That has to be because Scurry is only starting to roll now. They have made a pit stop that's almost double the length compared to Lafter. There's an incredible gap between these drivers.
But the question is, that maybe that explains the difference in time too. Now we have to wait and see what Scurry and Miller look like on fresh rubber, because that could make the difference that they bring that gap down and reel him in.
I have to say, looking at the lap times that Ben is doing at the moment, the 2:42 and the 2:41 after his pit stop, the lap times that he was doing in the draft before his pit stop were 39s and 40s. So he's only 1, maybe 2 seconds slower than he was before. And with a little bit more than 15 minutes to go, I think that Ben Lafter has made an incredibly smart strategy call there by maybe not taking tires and just reducing his pit stops time.
Meanwhile, those still running at the front of the GTOs are Neidhart, Hagner, and Trangerade. Let's see if they respond and pit so that they don't lose out from Miller and Scurry. They might not even know what happened with the lack of tires as well. Will they also take tires and come out way behind Ben Lafter? Let's see if anyone elects to come in. Neidhart, the first one to reach, stays out. All 3 of them do.
Yeah, smart from Trangerade as well. He's a little bit further behind the 2 of the other Audis. So he really has a good overview what the two in front are doing. Just following them now, staying in the draft, it's a sensible decision from the Norwegian, who can immediately just close down the gap to Jack.
An update on our championship battle in the GTP class. Iamaki leads the race by about 1.1 seconds over Lepisto. I'm watching to see if he gains it all, and they actually will be coming up on these cars soon. Or wait, no, they're beyond them now, excuse me. Ryan has finished his pit stop, by the way. Ryan going to return in what looks like 10th place.
Now, I was taking a look at Lepisto. He has a little bit of draft at the moment. On the end of the straight, as they reach the Rettivilio chicane, he's around 3 to 4 kilometers an hour, so 2 to 3 miles per hour quicker than his rival. It's not helping him a lot, it's helping him a little bit, trying to cut down the gap. More importantly is the corner exit, and you can see the gap on the left, 1.3 seconds. He was not quick out of the Rettivilio chicane, out of the Variante della Roccia. That's where he has to make a difference. It works a little bit, but it seems like Iamaki at the moment, Joe, is just, well, the one with the better race pace.
Well, that works out perfect for him. Unfortunately for Lepisto, though, I've been looking through my timing and scoring. Gerber's been running him down. And I think I figured out what cost Gerber, what cost him what could have been the lead. He had a 3-second longer stop than both Lepisto and Iamaki. That's why he came out as far behind as he was. If he had the same pit stop time, he would have been right with them, and it would have been a 3-car battle for the lead right now.
Very interesting as well that Gerber is winning, because Gerber might be the saving grace for Lepisto. If Gerber actually manages to overtake him and get P2, Gerber might be the stepping stone, the draft stepping stone that Lepisto needs to reattach himself with Iamaki and launch one final bid for the race lead.
Meanwhile, we've got to jump over to our lead in the GTOs to see if they elect to come in yet. 15 minutes left to go on the clock. They're starting to drop Ove Trangarade. He's fallen back to nearly a second here. Now this will come back together on the oval portion, depending on if they stay out or if they pit. But both are pitting, and Trangarade is going to join them. Who takes tires among this group? Everybody hard on the brakes to try and get it down to the pit speed. They do not have limiters in these cars, by the way. Oh, but Trangarade misses his stall. Trangarade goes a little too far and has to back into it. That is going to cost him the draft for sure.
Valuable seconds there that over Trangarade misses. I was actually looking because it almost seemed like he was also overspeeding on pit entrance. Let's hope he doesn't get the double whammy as Joni Hagner and Dennis Neidhart are rolling again. Where is Ben Lafter? That's really the big question at the moment.
No tires for any of them.
Ben Lafter is just in the Parabolica. Yeah, he is way behind these two drivers.
And as that was happening, Lepisto has caught Iamaki and passed him for the lead. I don't know if it was the slipstream or what. I think it was. I think he just managed to run him down on his own. Here you see it happen right here onto the front stretch.
Wow, what a move from Lepisto there to actually finish that. I didn't think that with the gap that he was having, he would be able to catch Iamaki, but he's proving me wrong. He's back in the lead, and at this point, the championship swing is back into the favor of Lepisto, who, if it finishes like this, will grab the championship.
So his worst enemy right now is Fabian Gerber. He wants them to stay away from Fabian. Ardo will want to slow them both up and bring him into the mix. As that was a brave pass, by the way. I don't know if our audience caught it, but Lepisto 2 wheels in the grass at 180 miles an hour at a point where the car is light coming off the crest. He could have easily bended in that moment, but he knows the championship is at stake here. So they come back to the oval one more time. 2.3 seconds back to Fabian Gerber. Is he going to be able to reel them in? At 2.5 minutes per lap, they're looking at less than 6 laps to go.
Lap times for these drivers last time around, 27.2 for Lepisto. Behind him, Iamaki is 0.6 of a second slower. Fabian Gerber right in the middle between them at 27.6. At the moment, Gerber is closing down to Iamaki, and that will be very important for Gerber because he will need that draft to really close down the gap. Iamaki, however, let's see if he can get the same kind of run as Lepisto had last time around and get back that P1 position. There's not a lot you can do if someone is like this behind you. You're just a sitting duck on the straight. Iamaki still behind him as he reaches the exit of the old oval part, going back onto the Grand Prix circuit here, over the little bump. And one thing that Iamaki was doing earlier in the race is just lifting off a little bit, and it seems like Iamaki is again doing that. He takes a little look on the inside, but it's maybe more to cool his car down, because he is obviously lifting off before they reach the braking zone. He wants to stay behind Lepisto for now.
There in the background, you can see Gerber trying to close in, waiting to see what the time is out of the chicane, because sometimes that can be a little bit messed up. And he did close. It's down to 2 seconds between them. So he's gained. By the way, just an update on what's happened with the lead in the GTOs, because it was very fast stops for Hagner, Neidhart, and Trangerade. Obviously, Ove lost the slipstream there, so it's now down to Yoni and Dennis battling for the lead. But Reed Miller, with a long stop comparatively, is back in P6. Same thing with Franco Scurry back in 9th. And even Ben Laughter, with his sort of quicker stop taking no tires, is still well behind Ove Trangerade. He's about 8 seconds back, so I'm not exactly sure what's happened here.
I think Ben Laughter is really just hurt by the fact that he had to drive without a draft for several laps in a row, and he wasn't as quick as the top 5 in front of him. And you can see that with Ove Trangerade, who missed his pit stall, but still is in front of Ben Laughter. I think, however, I would be interesting to see if Ben Laughter can close down the gap to Ove Trangerade. There's not a lot of time left. Ben Laughter has been quick though.
It's not just the lap times though. It was 6 seconds difference in the pit stall between Trangerade and Laughter. I almost wonder if it was fuel saving with those drivers staying in the slipstream for longer in the race. They saved just that much fuel, and Ben had to take more since he pitted earlier. We won't know unless we talk to them, but fascinating stuff in the differences in pit times.
Absolutely. Now let's maybe take a quick look at Reed Miller, who is now being involved in a battle with Alexander Veldman. So he reached the start-finish straight on the Grand Prix circuit, going towards the first chicane, the Rettifilio one. Veldman opts to just stay behind for now, but these two drivers are battling hard, like you said, Joe, for just P6 in the Audi category. That's not what Reed Miller was thinking half an hour ago when he was leading the Audis.
Yeah, it has all fallen apart for him. I said it would all come out in the wash, and, well, it didn't exactly come out how we expected. Someone threw a red sock in, and now we've got pink shirts. So, with less than 10 minutes to go, your leaders are Lepisto in the GTPs and Hagner leading in the GTOs. We check in with Lepisto and Iamaki. Gerber continuing to close down in this portion, but he seems to lose out a little bit on the oval as he drops back to about 2.2 seconds. It's not drastic. Now down to 1.7. So I wonder if Gerber's quicker in the chicanes and the twisty bits.
Oh, and this also won't help the two leaders. Jule Forcolin is in front of them. Lepisto hitting the gravel, losing a lot of traction there, and that's what Iamaki needs to retake the lead. Side by side in the Lesmos with an Audi in front of them. This is also what Gerber needs, because he will be able to close up really quickly. Iamaki is not able to put it past Forcolin before they reach the second Lesmo. Forcolin has to go over the gravel. Look at Gerber now. This is a three-way fight for the lead.
He is there. It's a half a second between himself and Lepisto. He will definitely have the slipstream as they break into the Ascari chicane. Boy, what a fascinating finale this has been. This time by, let's see, they're going to go across with a little over 7 minutes left. So we're looking at 4 laps to go here, or 3?
You would say probably 3 laps to go. Really depends on how many seconds are left though. I think 3 laps left for these drivers. Lepisto is still behind though, and like we said before, Lepisto has to win against Iamaki. He has to win this race if he wants to get the title today. They're passing now one of the Audis, that Marco Cesana. He stays on the outside. All the Nissans are going to the inside. Fabian Gerber has to go below the yellow line there to pass the Audi. But he has a lot of extra speed now as they use the back straight of the oval.
What a complication. Lepisto did not need this. He is going to get himself back up to the front. Gerber, though. Oh, is Gerber dropping back a little bit? Is this a lift or what's he doing here? Maybe he's setting himself up. Maybe he knows he'll be nice and quick down the main straight, coming into the braking. And indeed, he's coming back at him. Gerber trying to play a smart game. Oh, as he almost is squeezed into the wall, coming off the oval. Just manages to find the space. Now as they come up into the braking, Lepisto covers him off. They're going to go 3 wide as that is a GTO up ahead of them. Paul Ferrer tries to hold as far left as he can go. Gerber does the smart thing and he pulls out of it.
I think Paul Ferrer wanted to slow down, let the cars by, but he was too late in realizing that the cars were side by side and he was blocking all the speed that Fabian Gerber had to try and take the lead. Without Paul, I think that Fabian Gerber would have been our leader, but at the moment it's still Iamaki and Lepisto fighting it out with Lepisto up front. There's more Audis, however, throwing wrenches in the mix. In front of them, Franco Scuri, Michael Houfden isn't that far away as well. And these Audis will be caught between the Lesmos and Ascari, so that will allow Fabian Gerber to just maybe take a look on the inside of Iamaki.
I don't think that was completely wasted for Fabian. That was useful information for him to know exactly what sort of slipstream he needed, what he can do with it, where he'll catch up with them. So he at least has that tucked away in his head as they now go by Franco Scurry, staying off to the right side, but going to compromise the entrance just a little bit for Gerber coming into the Ascari chicane. Not dire, though.
And the
Let's
battle
head up to our lead in the GTOs. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the battle between Neidhart and Hagner is still going strong. Here we also have 2 leaders who are nose to tail. Well, basically for the last 10-20 minutes already, Hagner is still in the lead there, with Neidhart following behind. They don't have to worry about the third driver suddenly shaking everything up. Overtrain rate is quite a far bit behind these two. Just to reach the exit of the oval part. Let's see what these 2 drivers are using for strategy. Neidhart, it seems like he just wants to stay behind. He is lifting up a little bit. He's actually losing speed on the straight, and that shows that he's just lifting off the throttle, not going full straight. I think that Neidhart wants to be behind going into the final lap, so he can use that draft and that extra speed to lose one final push, overtaking Hagner.
Meanwhile, on the oval once again for Lepisto, Iamaki, and Gerber. Gerber employing the same strategy, hanging back, waiting for the run. Is he going to do it a little bit later this time as well? Because last time he had a little bit of a sketchy moment coming through the oval portion. He's still going to have to go side by side over the jump. He manages it. Lepisto once again covers off the inside. This time, though, they don't have a GTO car in the way, and Gerber, just like that, is to the point. Lepisto tries to come back at him. He is very deep on the brakes, too deep on the brakes. This could be a critical moment in the championship. He cuts the course. He's going to have to give that time back as Gerber is in front of Iamaki. They go through very quickly. Lepisto tries to hold on to the slipstream as he gets back up to pace. Is he there or is he gone?
It seems like Lepisto is far behind, but he is just hanging in there. Saving grace for Lepisto was Gerber getting the corner wrong as well and actually blocking Iamaki on the apex. If that didn't happen, Iamaki would have passed both of them and for sure have broken the draft with Lepisto. As it stands at the moment, it seems like Lepisto is still just close enough to be in this championship fight.
Meanwhile, Joni Hagner is leading onto the oval once again, ahead of Dennis Neidhart. Now, Ove Trangrate about 3.5 seconds back. They, I think, get the slipstream at about 2 seconds back in these cars. So if he closes in a little bit more, he could manage to get himself into this.
Yeah,
by the way, we will be white flag this time by for our leaders.
I just want to say Overtrain rate was 1.5 seconds quicker than the 2 rivals in front of him last time around. So it seems like he actually does have the pace to close down the gap for the win. And let's see actually with Lepisto, he's stuck behind Reed Miller at the moment as they come out of the Parabolica chicane. You can see the two drivers, Gerber and Iamaki, up front, driving away. There's a 1 second gap, and for Iamaki this is great news, because if Gerber wins and Iamaki stays on a podium position, he wins the title as well. He just has to beat Lefisto now in a direct battle between the two.
So as they come onto the oval, Iamaki stalking Gerber. Gerber knows it. He tries to break the draft, but Lepisto manages to hold on to that slipstream himself. He is going to reel them in as they come around the second portion of the oval. And here goes Iamaki. He makes his move. He was paying attention, except he's going to go on the low side in comparison. A bigger hump there. He manages to hold it down, though. They're going to be side by side, punching a huge hole in the air for Lepisto behind them.
Yeah, this is what Lepisto wants. He is able to catch down these two drivers in front of them who are still side by side and they're braking, and that will not help them to drive away from Lepisto. It's almost nose to tail again. Iamaki retains or gets back the lead, fading Gerber in P2, but Lepisto will be able to close down the gap like this. Let's see if Gerber puts it side by side again and how much Gerber will go for that victory here against Iamaki. Iamaki covering the inside of the Della Roccia chicane. Gerber around the outside. Gerber braking very, very late over the sausage curbs there. He will damage his Nissan if he keeps doing like that. But more importantly, he loses valuable traction with Lepisto on the inside of the first Lesmo. Side by side, the red car on the inside fighting for the championship. But before he can fight for the championship, he has to get past Gerber. And Gerber stays in front as they come out the Lesmo chicanes.
Lepisto is desperate. He knows that it's all on this. This is the final lap, and they're going to get the checkered flag, this time by Iamaki. Has it within his grasp. He came in only 3 points ahead. A win will absolutely give him the championship, and that traffic might seal the deal. That was Marciello just ahead of Gerber and Lepisto, stretching them away. As you can see, Lepisto going to try and still pass, at least to give himself the knowledge that he finished in second place. But Iamaki with a huge gap as they come out of the Parabolica. Ardo takes the win and the championship here today. Gerber is going to finish in second as Lepisto. What happened back there?
Contact between himself and Gerber, so Lepisto spun himself around, no damage, but he finishes in P3. Now let's go in the battle for the Audi race, because that one is still... Dennis has just passed Joni Hagner, so Joni Hagner now in P2. Once they have one more big long straight where the Audis really will reach top speed, this is probably one of the best opportunities for Joni Hagner to pass Dennis for the lead. Dennis covering the inside, Joni on the outside. He has way more speed there. Side by side, will Dennis be able to get a little bit draft back and keep this car on the inside? Joni trying to cover, closing down the gap to the inside. He's not all the way on the racing line, but they're still side by side going into the chicane. Joni Hagner almost missing the corner. Still side by side as they go through the Rettivilio, and as they go out of the corner, Joni Hagner has a nose whiff in front. He overtakes Neidhart, but they're still in the draft of each other as they go towards the Della Roccia chicane, Joe.
Amazing braking from both of them. 185 miles an hour down to the bare minimum to get through the corner, but another attempt down into Della Roccia. Is he too hot into it? Neidhart manages to get ahead, but we could have her an over-under as they get a little bit of contact between one another. Joni Hagner running into the back of Dennis Neidhart. That's going to give him a nose in coming through the first Lesmo. Just a few more corners to go. Neidhart falls back. All this battling is allowing Trangrade to close in. It might be too little too late, though. He's down to about 1.8 seconds. You can see him in the background. Neidhart does not have the advantage now. Joni Hagner up ahead, but a little bit of a slipstream down into the Ascari. Hagner covers him off just in case. Backing off, looks like Neidhart doesn't think it's on here into the final chicane. Maybe into the Parabolica. A great exit. Look at the launch from Joni Hagner off the corner. This might deny Dennis Neidhart the chance that he needed to be able to take the win. He may have taken the championship, but Joni Hagner in the last race looks like he is going to deny him a victory. They come around the Parabolica, and indeed the Finn is going to take the win as they come to the line here in Italy. That is it, as that's the last of our drivers on the lead lap. Well, sort of on the lead lap, but coming across the line. We're going to take a replay, I think, here. Let's take a quick look, because I even didn't myself get to see what happened to Iamaki. Nope, looks like we've jumped farther back than that. This is what happens to Gerber into the Della Roja chicane.
Yeah, it was a hard battle between Gerber and Lepisto, I think.
Iamaki, I believe, yeah. And then Lepisto came into it. Oh, man, you could see how much he wanted that position. That was a very late dive into the corner, but fair, and just didn't quite have it. We come back live. We're going to go to break here. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. My mind is scrambling after that action. Don't miss any of this, because we'll have all the upcoming races here on your screen on the GSRC. Welcome back to Monza. We may have had a lot of attrition that race, but you wouldn't know it because there was so much action out on track. It was another stunner. What a finale. It was Arto Iamaki who not only took the win, but sealed up his championship. There were very few points between himself and Lepisto in the end, but it was Gerber, Fabian, who finished in second place. A great fight between himself, Iamaki, and Lepisto on that last lap. Antti just couldn't get himself up to the lead, which he needed to win this championship. He took third place. The other Gerber, Tobias, took fourth from 10th. Didn't really get to cover him much, but it was a quiet run up to a very good finish for him. Kitty Ingstrom, who led for a dominant portion of this race, wound up in fifth. A bit of interclass action between himself and one of the GTOs unfortunately sent him backwards. Laust Olsen with a nicely earned sixth place, and Martin Krejci in seventh, was followed by Stephen Warkup in eighth, and Dan Mueller, another driver with a little bit of damage, taking ninth. Roberto De Filippis from 17th to 10th. Nice one. Guillermo Kramer took 11th from 23rd himself, and Pablo Suarez finished 12th. Stephen Jones was 13th, and Nicholas Helm was P14.
And if we go to the Audis, it's Johnny Hagner who wins that race. Great battle between him, Dennis Neidhart, and a lot of other people for a long time in this race. Over Trangerade, he was just, I think, 1 or 2 laps too short to make it a free car battle for the lead. In the Audis, he finishes P3 in that class. In the end, Ben Latte left an early pit stop that didn't really pay out in the end. He comes home P18 overall, P4 in the Audi class. Raffaele Marcello P5 and Reed Miller in the top 20. Alexander Feldman, great race from him, winning 16 positions overall from P37 to P21 overall in the end. He finishes in front of Michael Houghton. Franco Scuri, he was one of those drivers that stayed in the lead battle for a long time, but long pit stop means that he fell down the order quite a bit. Marco Sassana finishing in P24 in front of Guilio Furcolin. Sebastian Mark, that's one of the Nissans that finished 2 laps down as well, comes home P26 overall. Wolf Dietrich Hoto in P27 in front of Fabio Raffa, Josef Erlebach and Paul Ferrer finishing the top 30, Joe.
And then from there on down, you get to drivers that had a bad day. Some of them did manage to get back out, but otherwise, we saw a lot of DNFs out there. I do believe we have Fabian Gerber up first. Yes, we do. So the second place finisher, a bit of a surprise second place finisher, because Fabian, I have to admit that it seemed like you had fallen off a little bit in the middle of the race. And then suddenly, when the pit stop started to happen, we kind of were looking at you and realized you were a player in this win.
Yes, in the end, yes. But at the beginning, I had bad luck because I was overtaken early in the race, so in the first lap. So I had to overtake him first, and then I had a gap to the top four, and they had draft, so I couldn't keep up with them really. And then when traffic came, I could get onto them, and then it started to become clear that I can be there, I think.
Now, obviously, there was a little bit of a different pit strategy between yourself and Iamaki, and I believe Lapisto as well. Did you notice them heading in, and did it make you think, oh, I need to follow them, or did you want to do a different strategy?
No, my strategy was pretty much planned, and I saw that I didn't have traffic in front or much, so I could hang on to my strategy. So it was actually good because I had better tires in the end, and I was actually hoping for a shorter stop, but in the end I miscalculated. I thought we were going to do 25 laps, so I had too much fuel, and this was like I don't know how many seconds in the pits, but this I should have needed. So that was a shame that this happened.
I think it was about 3 seconds difference. We did notice it was slightly longer. Uh, Now, let's also talk about that last lap, that battle with Ardo going into the second chicane, and also with Antti getting his nose in through the Lesmos. I mean, from your perspective, how was that?
That was crazy. It was totally amazing race. It was one of the best I've ever drove in Kamel GT. It was so close, and but Arto and Antti are great drivers, so it was really difficult to see the breaking point uh, in the battle with them because when you have a car in front of you, a Nissan especially, you don't see anything. So I really had to feel. That's why we at one point almost all lost the breaking point and went too far. It was tough, but it was a fantastic race. It was a shame there was the first chicane there. It would have been even better without it, but we all had to live with it. So it brought some excitement also.
Absolutely. And once again, that was second place finisher Fabian Gerber. Thanks for coming and talking to us. I believe we have our winner in the GTOs, Joni Hagner, ready to talk to us. Johan's caught up with him.
Yeah, Yoni, welcome to the booth. Congratulations, a great win for you out there. I was kind of wondering, the whole first part of the race was a six-car battle with you included. In the end, it became a two-car battle. From your point of view, what really was the reason for that? That you and Dennis managed to break away from the rest?
I don't know. I screw up my pit stop like 3 seconds, and I was taking tires, and it costed me like 2 seconds extra. And yeah, it was like driving half throttle on the oval section and saving much as I can. So it was a bit boring.
A bit boring, but a big climax. You mentioned actually the fuel saving. How much of fuel saving was there going on during the race? We saw some cars purposefully not trying overtakes going into the Variante della Roccia to, it seems like, stay in a single line. Was that something that you did a lot as well, to just stay fuel, make sure that you could do a longer first stint?
Yes, I was driving in the practice. I got like 7 liters per lap, and on the draft I got like 6.5 or under. So it was quite a lot of saving.
That's a lot of saving. Well, it brought you the victory in the end. You battled it out with Dennis Neidhart in the end. What was your strategy going into that last lap, nose to tail with Dennis? Did you want to be in front? Did you want to follow behind? Did you have no preference at all? How did you approach it?
I know that it would be easier to be in the second place, but I didn't want to do any unnecessary shenanigans. But Yeah, I played the pass on quite okay on the normal turn 1, and yeah, it was a bit close, but fun ending.
You closed the season out with a victory. Congratulations, Joni. Enjoy the champagne. We hope to see you again next season.
Yeah, thank you.
That was Joni Hagner, our winner today in the Audi category. Now, in the meantime, Joe, you have caught up with another Audi driver, Ben Lafter.
Yeah, Ben was just off the podium, and I'm guessing, Ben, part of your strategy was that pit stop because we noticed you ducked off a little early, but despite not taking tires, you were still in your stall slightly longer than the others. Do you have any idea what the difference is?
No, fellas, I did take tires. I did. I think that's why I was in longer. I don't know that they did. I need to go back and look at it.
Interesting. Well, we saw Miller and Scurry staying much longer than you, so we assumed that they were the ones that took tires. Very curious then. Uh, were you keeping track of lap times between yourself and the other cars after the pit stops? Were you not even paying attention to it? Because we did notice that you were a little bit slower than them once you came out.
Yeah, so I mean, my strategy there was, pit now. The GTPs were going to be coming through in the next lap or two, and so I was thinking if I pit early, the GTPs will slow down the top 5 group that I was battling with, and then hopefully I could, leapfrog them during the pit cycle. But in reality, what ended up happening was I fell out of the draft and was turning a little bit lower laps. I think the draft is worth, 3/4 of a second to a full second.
You also had a little bit of a run-in with Neidhart at one point when you were battling for the lead in that first chicane. From our perspective, it looked like maybe you were caught out with his speed at the second apex. What happened on your end?
Yeah, I need to go back and look at it. I mean, the car behind's usually at fault, right? So I'll take full blame for it without looking at it. But I think that I wasn't necessarily trying an over under, and I was being very cautious going into the first chicane as we were battling for the lead there. Having a lot of fun, by the way. Dennis was racing clean, and I was having a blast. And then when I turned right and then turned back left, his car was just there, and I couldn't get back off the throttle fast enough with the cars behind him. So I feel bad about turning him there. I'm glad he recovered. And I have more blood on my hands, too. My teammate, Rob, I sent him carouseling into the grandstands, and I felt really bad about that. Coming off the oval, it just felt like his car checked up a little bit, and I caught him in the corner, and it was a bad spot. And I apologize to both those guys.
Well, I guess it's just one of those days, unfortunately. But anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Whatever crazy animal thought of the idea of putting Monza combined on the schedule, because blood on my hands regardless. Whoever decided this was a good idea was absolutely right. This is one of the most fun combinations, and of course I've been stepped out of Camel for a little bit, and this is an amazing comeback. What a great time. What a great series.
Well, it was fun to watch you, and that was Ben Lafter, 4th place finisher here today in the GTOs. Real quick, one more driver to talk to. Maybe this will shed some light because this is one of our long stoppers, Reed Miller, who Johan has caught up to.
Yeah, Reed, welcome to the booth. Now, for a long time this race, I was thinking, Reed, you're going to be the one to beat. You were leading almost the whole first stint. What was your strategy there? Because we heard other drivers say that they wanted to save fuel. You had no such concerns?
Nope, I decided I was just going to go full out. I didn't think there was any fuel concerns because I felt like the pit stop was going to time out just fine. So yeah, I think that was a good strategy for me.
But you did end up a longer time in the pits. Was that due to fuel, or did something go wrong that made sure that you dropped a little bit further back than you maybe would have won?
Well, yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't slow down enough into the pit lane, so I had to sit there for 40 painful seconds watching my penalty tick off. So that definitely ruined my race pretty well, for sure.
That explains a lot. Well, unfortunate that happened to you. In the end, however, you come home with a P6 result. I think you actually managed a P5 result in the championship as well. How are you moving forward to next season? Do you have any aspirations going into the new one?
Yeah, looking forward to next season. I'm gonna hit it hard for sure. This season, I wasn't around for all the races and wasn't really my best effort. So next one, I'm going for it all the way.
We're gonna keep an eye on you. Thanks you for talking with us. Reed Miller coming home P6 today.
All right, thanks.
A lot of fascinating perspectives and interesting stuff happening in those pit stops that we didn't expect. But we're going to take ourselves away, and we'll be back later today after we give some thank yous. Of course, a big thank you to the Camel community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, especially with combinations like this on their schedule. Also, a thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts. They're listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Milan, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Johan, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can check us out on social media, where our Twitter is @GSR Channel, Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, check out our merch store. We've got a link in the description below, where it's gsrc.storeindy.com. We'll hopefully be back in about 2 weeks' time, but we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.